welcome to Rating the List, where we review, discuss, and reimagine popular movie lists objectively. We're your hosts. I'm Jerry.
And I'm Brad, and we are starting our top 10 horror movies to celebrate Halloween. So in our previous Halloween episode, we discussed how we came about looking at what those top 10 movies are, and our first movie here is number 10. It's Night of the Living Dead from 1968.
All right, and Night of the Living Dead was directed by George Romero, starring John Russo. Starring Dwayne Jones and Judith O'Dea. Quick synopsis of the movie, which I'm quoting from IMDb.com. A ragtag group of Pennsylvanians barricade themselves in an old farmhouse to remain safe from a horde of flesh-eating ghouls that are ravaging the East Coast in the United States.
So, what's there to say about this movie? This is kind of the Citizen Kane of zombie movies. This is really, like, almost every zombie movie that follows does something that either gives homage to this movie or directly copies it. One of the big things that pretty much all zombie movies follow is their flesh-eating kind of, like mutated, back from the dead, whatever rules are following in that universe, but almost all of them eat human flesh.
Right. Now, the origins usually vary, but in this one, the origin was government related.
Well, that's the thing. Like that's kind of the thing about this movie, and it's actually one of the cool things about this movie is you don't quite know what the origin is. They're still kind of debating what the origin is.
Right.
So there's this whole, like, everything's chaotic. This is all happening, like, within, like, a 24-hour period or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like, everything's, like, brand new. Like, all of a sudden there's just all these reports of these, they kind of describe it as flesh-eating murderers. Yeah. So, and it takes a little bit of time. And the story is intercut with some newsreel, quote unquote newsreel footage, kind of like showing how chaotic everything is and how there's discussion about whether this is extraterrestrial or...
What's great too is that when they do flash to the news segments, they're really believable. Yeah. Like, they really feel like real live news reports.
Yeah, it's got that kind of, you've got the reporter who's kind of live on the scene and is trying to, piece things together based on what they knew, like, coming into the scene and what they're hearing on the scene, and they're kind of trying to piece everything together, and it changes, like, each time they go on the air. A little bit of time has passed, and they've learned a little bit more. They interview government officials. They've got NASA there. They've got, people from, like Congress there, and everyone's kind of trying to figure out what's going on. There's a lot of chaos there. And then you've also got the chaos of our characters. Mm-hmm. So, there's a series of characters who show up that they're all experiencing this. So the first one that we meet is Barbara. Her and her brother are at a cemetery visiting their father's cemetery, for their mother. It's a really long drive. They're not real close by. And, the brother's kind of complaining about going.
Yeah, they don't really want to be there.
They don't really want to be there. It's,
they're doing it for their mom.
They're doing it for their mom. And while there, we have our first encounter with zombies who take out the brother. And Barbara is able to get to their car, but she doesn't have the keys to start it, so all she can do is put it in neutral and let it roll down the hill. And the one thing that's different from this movie versus a lot of zombie movies is a lot of zombie movies, the zombies are extremely slow. They're very kind of methodical and move very slowly. The ones in this movie move pretty fast.
Oh, I didn't think so.
I thought they moved pretty fast.
I've seen fast, like World War Z, that's fast.
World War Z is kind of a different animal, but the ones in this movie move much faster than what you see in a lot of movies where it's kind of...
Yeah. Like, one thing that was also cool was this movie was done in 1968. but it was filmed in black and white. I don't know if that was for budgeted purposes
I'm sure it
or
was.
what, but it gave it this really like eerie feel. And then of course, one thing that's like detrimental to me to a horror movie is the music. And this music was really good. It was very eerie and tense.
Yeah, this is an independent, low budget feature, and you do feel that. But of all the genres out there, the one that pulls off low budget the best usually is horror. You can do a lot with horror with a very low budget and still pull it off. You can do like this one. You know, you've got like 4 or 5 sets in the whole thing. So you've got the cemetery, you've got the farmhouse in and around the farmhouse, which is where almost the entire story takes place. And then you've got a little bit of footage with the newsreel in a couple different locations, and that's really it. Like,
but they're all in that same county, I think.
Yeah, is all this is taking place on the eastern seaboard, and everything that we're seeing is in Pennsylvania.
Right. And so, we follow this group of people. We follow Barbara, who ran from the cemetery to this farmhouse.
And then
we meet Ben, who is a man was in the farmhouse when she got there. Or did he come in?
I think he was already there.
I think he was already there. She's in shock because she saw her brother die.
Yeah.
This man was chasing her, so she's kind of like not all there.
That's one of the things I liked about it too, is we've got everyone is reacting differently to what's going on. So Barbara's in shock like the entire time.
Yeah. And it's like, it's different because, when you watch a horror movie, a lot of times, like, everybody's the hero.
Right.
Like, everybody knows what to do when there's a zombie, But these people all, like Brad was saying, like, handle it all in completely different ways. Ben himself was, like, survivor. He was, like, in survivor mode, and he was trying to do what was best for her and him. He started boarding up windows, trying to keep them out. He realized and figured out that they're scared of fire. So he was lighting things on fire and putting it outside.
He's very action oriented. He is thinking about the best way to survive this. And then shortly after they've been in the farmhouse for a bit, we find out that there are actually 5 other people in the house. There is there's an older couple, Harry and what's her name?
I don't remember.
Helen. Harry and Helen.
Helen, with the daughter who is sick.
Right. The daughter has been like bit or scratched or whatever. And then there's a younger couple, Tom and Judy. They're not married, but they're a couple, and they've all been in the basement. And as soon as they come up, you've got this like little power struggle, and it's kind of, there's some racial tension that's really under the surface.
So Ben is black.
Right.
And everybody else in the house is white.
Yeah. So you've got Harry, who's, older white guy, and he thinks that everything he is doing is best. And it's pretty clear that the stuff that Ben is talking about is what's actually the best option. Like, he wants to board them up in the basement, but there's no escape if they go into the basement. Like, there's nowhere to go. Like, if the zombies get into the basement, they're done.
And that's kind of like, it kind of goes that way towards the end.
Yeah. Where
Ben ends up in the basement by himself.
Yeah.
And, but he boards himself up and he was fine.
Yeah.
Right? But if they would have boarded themselves up with their daughter in there, it would all die.
The daughter ends up turning into a zombie,
right?
Because so basically what happens is, if someone their body isn't immediately disposed of with fire after they've died, they're going to turn into a zombie, and the only way to take them out at that point is a shot to the head,
right?
Which is another trope in a lot of zombie stories. Is that's the only way that you can get them is to take out their brain.
And typically if you're going to try to make sense of zombies, it makes sense because you think that they're still alive because of their nervous system, like something's going on, you know. So their brain is really the only thing alive besides their decomposed body.
And it's not even like they're high. It's just their kind of the functions of breathing and body movement. There's no real like cognitive thought.
No, they're just hungry,
Yeah.
and they want to follow that hunger. So what I found the most interesting about this movie is the ending.
Yeah.
So, we're following these broadcasters, and there's this like total gung ho sheriff of the county, and he's going and rounding up all the zombies and killing them all and all that.
It's like him and a couple of his deputies and like look like a group of like 5 or 6 just volunteer citizens, and
they're rounding up. So they're like, we're gonna go check out this farmhouse and see what's going on over there, because there's some. So they find some zombies. Well, Ben is still alive.
Yeah.
He goes to the window, and these cops or sheriffs are acting brave, but they're really not, because they shoot him. He's fine, but they wouldn't get close enough to the farmhouse to know that he was okay.
It was a shoot first, ask questions later.
Exactly.
And then by the time you get inside, you can't really tell.
Right.
After
so they're
you
not
shot him in the head whether he was infected or not.
Right. It's just like an excuse that they were like, we're taking care of this, but they're really not being careful or mindful about it.
Yeah, like on the surface it seems like what they're doing is a good idea, but if you kind of step back from it, there's some problems there.
Oh, yeah. And then if you look at it from the perspective of now, watching this movie and knowing all these injustices that are happening all over our country, you can even argue that he saw a black man in the window and he shot without asking questions.
Yeah, so one of the cool things about this movie, it's been a while since I've seen it. The one that we watched, it's been restored. It looks fantastic.
It looks great.
Looks really great. This movie, it isn't super scary and in terms of just jump scares or anything like that, but the social commentary stuff still holds up. It looks great, and again, this movie is kind of almost the zombie Bible, if you will. And every movie, any zombie movie you've ever seen, or The Walking Dead on TV, any of these shows or
concepts at all
owe something to George Romero and what he did in this movie. I'd say probably deserves a spot on the top 10.
Oh, for sure. So, for all it's done over the years, I think so. And what was the second movie? The one with they're in the mall?
Return of the Living Dead.
Return of the Living Dead is pretty good too, to be honest. Let's see.
Yep.
Yeah, the only issue I had with the movie, which I have an issue of this time period with a lot of movies, is that women are perceived as not being able to make decisions, not being weak, can't speak. They just totally blank out because they don't know what to do. Her brother's gone, so she can't think for herself. It's really like the girl goes and runs to the track when she shouldn't have, causing all these problems. So again, they're painting women as
a little. There's some of that.
The weaker sex.
But deserves its place on the list. It's enjoyable to watch, and it's kind of a good start to top 10 horror movies that we're gonna be checking out.
Yeah, for sure.
So
that's our number 10, Night of the Living Dead. If you have opinions on this movie, please comment below, or you can send us an email at ratingthelist@gmail.com. For now, I think that's it. Until the next time, I'm Jerry.
And I'm Brad.
And we're Rating the List.
Bye.
Have a good night.